Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons, back with some signature lick goodness for you from that Steve Vai. What a nice little boy. Three licks in ascending difficulty, touching on different areas of Steve's amazing, varied and unique playing style. Alright, just before we get into it, the tabs are up on my patreon.com/JBFmusic if you want them. If you enjoy this kind of thing or the content I put out in general, then please do let me know with a like and a comment. Both really help the channel out as well as the visibility of this particular video. If you haven't already, feel free to give subscribe a click and do the enable all notifications thing to let that most notorious of algorithms know they'd quite like to see this sort of stuff. But yeah, let's just crack on, eh? Alright, before we get started, a huge shout out to John Rambo for supporting the channel through Patreon. Okay, I swithered about including this one. Although arguably his most recognisable lick or melody, it's not really one he uses a lot out with the song, so let me know if you think this sort of lick should be included in these videos or not. I did have a good reason for including it, a cool trick which we'll touch on in a wee second. Got a grace note slide here, from the 7 to the 9. These two notes. Another slide. Using a circular vibrato here for more authenticity, more on that with the little eye up there. So kind of moving your finger in a circular motion. Then the aforementioned neat trick, we switch fingers so that your first finger is fretting the 12th fret while still sustaining the note. So you just sort of slide your finger in from behind and let it take over the note holding duties. This makes this position shift a lot smoother. A fairly typical Vaiism. For more of his idiosyncrasies and habits, check out the little eye up there. I like to swap on the first beat of the bar, so we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So changing just there, it helps me keep it a bit cleaner and maintain a fairly smooth and rhythmic vibrato. We then stretch to the 17th fret, holding the note down if you can, and then you slide down a tone, picking these notes. Now the grace note slide to that 16th fret. I like to use my second finger because it sets up my first for this next thing here, which is a big slide down. The fingering's just a suggestion, do what suits you best. We're repeating the phrase, skipping over the first time repeat mark, that one down to the sort of half rectangle looking thing, and skip to the second time repeat, the same rectangle with a 2 in it just to the side. The same fingering as when we tackled it previously. So at the end of that second time repeat bar, we then slide the 14th up a tone, play the 16th fret a little bit staccato, so you're shortening the length, and slide it back down to the 14th, hitting it again. So sustain and slide out of it, and this little phrase to wrap up. You're sliding, pull off, pick the G string, pull off, pick again, and slide up. Try to keep the sounding as fluid as possible with no gaps between the notes, picking quite lightly and probably using your net pickup. For a quick analysis of the notes, and these chords do change during the intros, I'm going from around the 12-second mark of the song where this part of the melody happens. You can see the chords above there. We're starting off in the key of E minor, probably Aeolian, the natural minor scale. We're playing over an E minor with the 9th in it, this shape. And just really outlining an E minor 7 chord, going root, flat 3rd, flat 7th, 5th, root, flat 7th, 5th, flat 3rd. This chord change to an A minor add 9. This is a bit of a nasty shape to do. I believe it's this one. And the melody we play over that is this. So it's a root to the 2nd, 4th, down to the root. The 2nd could also be thought of as a 9th. We could analyse repeating this E minor 7th arpeggio as an extension of the A minor or an A minor 11, but I think Vai is just setting up for the E minor add 9 in the next 2 bars, which we've already done, that chord, and the same as the bars we played. So let's jump ahead to the E minor slash C, this shape. You could call this a C major 7, but the notes of the melody tend to imply more of an E minor. We've got the 4th, which is sliding up to the 5th, the flat 7th resolving down to the 4th, fairly tense. We then have the root, flat 7th, 5th, flat 3rd. To me, we're using this chord in order to suggest a C major tonality, or A minor tonality if you want to think of it that way. E phrygian, I suppose, would make more sense in this context, which helps the next chord sound a bit more natural, that the F major 7 sharp 11, a very Lydian chord. And F being the 4 chord in C major, C to F. So we'd have a Lydian sound. So at this point I'm going to say we've modulated to C major, more specifically F Lydian, because that E minor slash C chord we just played, or came from, contains notes both found in G major and C major. We're using this to pivot keys in a fairly smooth way, so that is we're using a chord that is in both keys to modulate from one kind of key or tonal center to another. So over this F major 7 sharp 11, we're sliding the 3rd to the sharp 4th, and back down. Then this is really a good example of why this sort of following the chord style of playing isn't usually Vai's thing. He's generally more of a modal player, unlike, for example, Slash, who really tends to follow the chords. His epic outro solo to Night Train really showcasing this, a full theory breakdown and technique breakdown of that with the eye up there. But yeah, we've got some real crunch here. The 9th is followed by the flat 9th, 7th, and 6th. If I play those notes just on top of the root of F, so let's go with this one here. Separately. It's really not the nicest sound, particularly that move there, but putting the F sharp in will help us transition back to E minor, the relative to G major, where of course there's this one sharp, which is F sharp, which we're playing there, right? I might have missed out some really clever music theory thing going on here, so please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think like the E minor arpeggio over the A minor add 9 is just using this phrase to set up the next bar where we return to E minor. Alright, there's a big jump in difficulty here when compared to our first lick. If you're fairly confident with tapping, this one will be a bit easier. If not, the third lick might be a better choice. When the licks get as tough as this, it is admittedly a bit difficult to rank them. If you want something tougher than the last lick, but maybe easier than this one, check out the eye up there for 3 Steve Vai signature Lydian licks. But what we've got here is an excerpt from I Know You're Here, the live version from G3 in Denver, I believe it is. You want to hammer on these notes. I tend to just flick the string a bit with my right hand second finger. You could hammer on from nowhere, use your first finger to flick the string. Whatever works, it's your call. You want to basically hold this 11th fret down, the resting these fingers probably behind as well, and then we're just hammering on this 12th fret, a total of 4 times. I think of it as 3, and then on the 4th one you pull off to the other notes. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pull-offs. So I'm thinking of it as like 1, 2, 3, then the one with the pull-offs. You might hear these grace notes as you get your fingers back into position ready for the second round of tapping. So by that what I mean is when you're doing this, when you go to tap again, you might hear these being hammered on before you get to the tap. That's totally fine. It's probably a little bit more authentic to the way Vai plays it. If you prefer to play it kind of cleaner and get more of a tap in that fret before these are hammered down, that's totally fine. It's more of an aesthetic choice than anything else. Minute details. And what I suggest is trying to think of this tapping bit as one chunk. Think of that as one unit. The next chunk as I see it begins at the 11th fret. Hopefully the overlay up there will clear up the chunks. And basically we're just got a few variations on one kind of simple pattern. Well, not when it's up at this speed, but in essence it is fairly straightforward. So you're going to tap, pull off, pull off. Same on the B string. Hammer the G string from nowhere. I'm opting to use my second finger so I can pop my third finger back over here for when we repeat it. And this second version of the pattern, we're starting off the same. Tap, pull off, tap, pull off. But then you want to tap on the G string and then pull off. So those two back to back. The third time we start off the same as we just did in the second time. But what we do is continue to pull off on the G string, D string, then hammer the A string from nowhere. So that one by itself. And those 3 back to back. Pattern 4 is the shortest, we're just going. So what we've always been doing on the E and B strings, so let's do those 4 together for good measure. And finally, pattern 5, it starts off exactly the same as pattern 3. We're doing the tap pull-off thing on the E, B, G and D strings. Then tapping this 11th fret on the A. And for good measure, I'm going to do all those patterns back to back. I'll just say the number of the pattern as we start each bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the way I went about thinking about this was how each pattern ends. So the first one ends with that hammer from nowhere on the G string. Pattern 2 is tap the 11 pull off to the 9th, still on the G string. Pattern 3 is the hammer from nowhere on the A string on the 9th fret. We've got this small pattern which is just this bit. And then the 5th pattern, the last one, you tap 11th fret on the A string. Hopefully some of that will help you a little bit with getting this kind of lick down. In terms of the music theory, this is just really modal. Sorry, this is going to be a bit anticlimactic compared to the lick itself. If we expand the tap shape and add in the 7th fret on the A string, it's an E. If you resolve any barrage of tapping in this sort of style here, you've got instant Lydian. Or indeed resolving something to the 3rd, like we did in that main lick. The 5th is a good choice as well for resolving licks. You know, anything like that is going to sound pretty good. We're just messing about in the scale really over an E drone or an appropriate Lydian type chord, you're going to get that Lydian sound. Alright, a lick in G Dorian from a live guitar battle Steve Vai had with Tony MacAlpine. Some of you might recognise this as the Dorian Blues or the secret shred scale. Shout out to the Lick Squad Elite, you guys rock. If you want to know more about this scale and you don't already, you can check out the tutorial with the little I up there. Tone bend. I hit that with a downstroke and then use upstrokes for the next 2 notes on the E and the B strings, so like a mini sweep. And I use this note on the B string to rotate my picking angle back to a kind of a downward pick slanting thing, where I'm hitting the E string with a down, keeping my pick slanted this way and using the trill to hop back over the B string to hit that with another down. I'm going down, up, rotating the pick angle, then I'm going to go down, trill, hop over the string, down, down, trill. Same idea to round up the bar, we're going to go down, down, but do a slightly longer trill. And actually this pattern in the first bar, you know, up at speed, that's all over Vai's playing and improvising. Listen out for that legato sequence. I mean, you could move it. So let's go with the 15th on the B, 14 and 15 on the E. Or let's go higher still, we could go for the 21st, 17th and 21st on the high E. In fact, that might even be in Tender Surrender, or at least something very similar to it. Yeah, so this sort of mini sweeped trill, played twice followed by a longer one, is a very typical Vai phrase. But we keep up with the legato and the E string, and this particular lick, holding down that 15th fret throughout. The way I think of this is that I tap that 20th fret twice. So, 1, 2, and that just seemed to lock the pattern in for me. Then a tone bend. Pick these 2 notes. Again, I'm using the upward sweep trick, so I'm going up on the E, up on the B, pull off, pick the next two notes, semitone bend, release it to pitch, pull off, hammer on the next note from nowhere. This might feel weird at a slow pace, but when you ramp up the speed, it will likely feel way more intuitive. We pull off after that, use the same hammer on from nowhere on the next string, and a pull off. I think he picks this tone bend on the G string 17th fret. It might be hammered. Your call, just go with whatever's easiest. With licks this fast and this difficult, path of least resistance is the best option. So you bend that tone, release it back to pitch, pull off, hammer on from nowhere in the D string, pull off, then we pick the last few notes to round things up. So make sure to make this first one quite staccato, short, we play it again with a little bit of vibrato, and then these two notes to round it up, sliding down and out of the lick. Okay, a quick look at the theory. We're in G Dorian, so this is a flat 7th being bent to the root. We then have the root, flat 7th, root to flat 3rd trill. Same idea, the flat 7th to root to flat 3rd trill. And then the same intervals again, but over the longer trill. We're then bringing the 2nd during this longer section of sort of pedal point legato, and then eventually going up to the 4th. So you got the root, the 2nd, the flat 3rd, and the 4th. Obviously playing them like. Flat 7th to root bend, root, flat 7th, going up to the 5th, bending the major 6th, the Dorian money note, to the flat 7th, return it to pitch, pull off to the 5th, 4th to the flat 3rd, root to the flat 7th, 4th bent to the 5th, back to pitch, pull off to the flat 3rd, root, flat 7th, and then rolling your first finger to this flat 3rd with some staccato. Once again, vibrato, then 2 roots to wrap it all up. And if you want some more detailed tips on creating your own Steve Vai style licks, check out that What If Steve Vai Played for Rage Against the Machine demo and tutorial. This has been Signature Guitar Licks, that's the playlist there. But yeah, hit subscribe to keep up to date with the channel, leave me a comment, check out the tabs on my Patreon and enable all notifications by ringing that little bell on the side, if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.